RFK Jr., and this is what's interesting, because he says he's got more. And it's not just Tulsi. It's not just him. Take a listen.
President Trump is going to make a series of announcements about other Democrats who are joining his campaign. And, I want to make America healthy again, and so does President Trump.
You know, it's interesting. He's kind of seized on that, Will, is Maha.
Maha, make America healthy again.
Yeah, but he also defended MAGA. In a Twitter post, RFK Jr. wrote what MAGA really means. He says, the phrase has troubled liberals who think it is a call to return to an America before civil rights or gay rights or women's rights. But I have a more generous interpretation, one that's truer to my experience of Donald Trump as he is today. Make America Great Again recalls a nation brimming with vitality, with a can-do spirit, a hope, and a belief in itself. It was an America that was beginning to confront its darker shadows, could acknowledge the injustice in its past and present, yet at the same time could celebrate its successes. It was a nation of broad prosperity, the world's most vibrant middle class, and an idealistic belief, though not consistently applied, in freedom, justice, and democracy. It was a nation that led the world in innovation, productivity, and technology. And it was the healthiest country in the world. I've talked to many Trump supporters. I've talked with his inner circle. I've talked to the man himself. This is the America they want to restore. And I think eloquently, Will, this is finally an explanation of MAGA that many of us have been like, this is what Make America Great Again is about. It's not about taking us back to 1955. That's not making America great again. It's about moving forward and people being successful and not being afraid to confront the wrongs of the past. Of course not. But not just blaming America for those wrongs. Getting past the wrongs.
That's right. And as you said, that was eloquently put by RFK Jr. in that post. And it's what I do feel that President Trump himself, because of the attacks against him and really his speaking style, is not a way that he could voice that himself in those type of terms that would feel genuine from him.
Yeah, if he said that, it would come across that way.
And I feel like that's why RFK Jr. will be a powerful surrogate in this race, because he's able to say things like that and be eloquent in a way that President Trump is more in your face, a little bit more brash in his duke it out fighting style, that it helps because people read that and it resonates with them. Oh, that is what I want for the country. I do want to make America great in a way that is in line with what he's saying in that post.
And what I want to know, and I think we will start to see if there's Tulsi and then you've got RFK Jr., is, how much will these people be out officially for the campaign?
Right.
Sounds like they're going to do plenty of media, and that's wonderful. But how much will they officially be doing campaign events, getting voters out to actually cast votes for Donald Trump in the 10 or less states that are going to determine the outcome of this election? Because that's where I think their time is really most valuable. I mean, it's great to have RFK, make the big splash in Arizona. It's great to have Tulsi do the big splash in Detroit. But ultimately what you want is them actually on the campaign trail and kind of speaking to their constituency, which is a constituency that I think is okay with President Trump, but certainly is more excited with President Trump if someone like Tulsi or RFK is kind of pull them across the final few yards to actually cast the vote.
Well, and here's also the scary part, and it goes back to the work of the ACLJ as far as protections of Americans' civil liberties. And when you think about the Quiet Skies program, it was interesting that before the RFK announcement, it seemed like we had maybe gotten administratively resolved of her being on the Quiet Skies list. But all of a sudden, now that the world turns a little bit and it gets a little bit more dangerous for the administration, all of a sudden she's got this Quad S designation again, which would infer that she's probably back on the Quiet Skies watch list. Now, we're not going to stop fighting for her and every American that has that kind of abuse labeled against them. We know that this program has not led to a single arrest or foiled a single plot. It's just a tool for TSA to spy on Americans.
2012, and it hasn't led to a single arrest.
And they're intimidating Americans. They're spying on Americans, using the heavy hand of government against them. Now that we have this announcement, that she's going to make this endorsement, I feel like it could be even more aggressive. We also know that RFK, he's suspended his campaign, so he's lost his Secret Service protection. Now, that's a normal course of business. When you suspend your campaign, you're no longer...
Secret Service?
He did after the assassination attempt on Trump. They finally gave what he'd been asking for months, but also that puts him in a little bit more dangerous position going out on the road, knowing that, one, there's already been an assassination attempt in this presidential election race.
Another person out in Arizona.
And we know that he has had many death threats against him, RFK Jr. has. So it's a dangerous time. The government...
because of endorsing President Trump, even?
Well, I don't know that we know how that's going to play out yet, but we know that even before... he was having break-ins at his home. He's had death threats. That's why he was calling for one of their big campaign expenditures, besides ballot access, was security for him because they wouldn't give him Secret Service protection. So you're seeing the arms of government in interfering with surrogates for President Trump, as well as interfering with the campaign of RFK Jr. the entire time. That was one of his big problems with the Democrat Party, was the lawsuits and the lawfare they were waging against both him and President Trump.
Do you want to see more of these Democrats endorse President Trump officially, like you've seen RFK? Now, in Tulsi's situation, that is a former Democrat. She wants to make that clear to everyone. She has left the Democrat Party. She's not trying to remain within the Democrat Party. Let me go to the phones, though. Let's go to Jim in Kansas on line 1. Hey, Jim.
I live here in an area that's divided between Democrats and Republicans. And the independents that I've talked to since Kennedy has made this endorsement said they'll either vote for Trump or there'll be a no vote at all.
Well, I think, listen, that's huge for President Trump. I mean, it's always better to get people's votes because Harris and Walz will get votes. But, I mean, Will, if people are saying, I'll either vote for Trump because of the RFK endorsement or I'm not going to get involved at all, I mean, you are taking Harris votes off the table.
That's right. And when you look at that kind of 5% that he'd been polling at, and sometimes even a few percentage points higher in swing states, if people are going to actively still go vote for President Trump, that's a net positive. But then it's also a net positive if they stay home, because that means they probably were leaning towards a Harris vote as opposed to a Trump vote. But if they're just disenfranchised or they feel disengaged from the process now, then that does show that there's a double benefit to this endorsement in this way that for President Trump, that when RFK Jr. has dropped out.
Well, I mean, are there any Democrats that come to mind for you? Do you think it's going to be Democrats that we really know of, or do you think it's going to be kind of unnamed Democrats that start coming on to the Trump team because they will be following RFK or they'll be following, Tulsi?
Yeah, off the top of my head, maybe someone like Dennis Kucinich, who was a prominent Democrat, ran for president, but has kind of, now he's older, but more libertarian. I'm not certain other than that who comes to mind, which could make it more surprising if there is a series of these, as RFK Jr. has inferred in that interview on Fox News Sunday.